ultimately think is the most important thing. James says, a while ago, you got a question about players who would be rated better or worse if they had played in better or worse teams. Do you feel Adam Gilchrist's test batting numbers are exaggerated by batting 6 and 7 in a very good Australian team? I do recall him mounting a few successful rescue missions, but also recall him coming in at 5 for 400 a lot. Would he have stepped up if he had to bat at number 4 in a weaker team? So I thought I covered this last time, James, with Gilchrist, but I think the most important thing with Gilchrist is he would be a different player in a weaker team because he wouldn't have come in at the age of 27 or 28. He comes in late and he's fully developed. Most players of his test ability with a bat come in before the age of 24, probably even before the age of 22. So he doesn't develop in a normal way as a player. Even if you look at him as a Shield player, I'd have to go back and look at those old Western Australian teams, but I get the feeling he batted 5 quite a bit, maybe 6. I don't remember him batting 4. He did bat 4, I think, for New South Wales, but that was as a specialist batter earlier on. So he never develops in the way that a batter should develop. And that's why when test teams eventually worked him out, he has a really stark drop off towards the end of his career. And I don't think it's just his age, although perhaps that played a part as well. I do think it's because teams kind of worked him out a little bit. But the reason they were able to work him out is because he was quite a one-dimensional player. And he was quite a one-dimensional player because he came to test cricket so late. He already knew what he was good at, and he did that for a short period of time until, teams started to bowl better to him. So it's a really tough one with Adam Gilchrist because you could argue with his level of batting talent, had he came into a weaker team and had to develop his game, he would have been even better. You could also argue that if he had to do that, maybe he couldn't develop his game. And he was just that one-dimensional kind of batter. And because of that, he would never have been the next level of player. So it's a really, and that's why these sorts of things are quite tough. You can look at someone like Stuart McGill, and you could say, I think based on his entire record, and say, had he played more tests, he would have had a far worse average. And he certainly wouldn't have had the sort of record that he has now. But you could also say, perhaps if he played far more tests, he would have built the other skills that he needed to be successful on the pitches that didn't necessarily help him. I think looking at his first class record and looking at his test record, it's probably fairly safe to say with McGill that he wouldn't have been a much better bowler if he'd played a lot more games. Gilchrist is not as clear because of the whole batting down the order thing. And I think that is tricky. And I do think if he played in another team, he would have had to play slightly differently. I always think he would be attacking. I don't think he would be Gilchrist in the same way that we think about him now. And that's the same with all those different kinds of players.